Great. Can everyone hear me okay? Great. So
Yes.
Thank you all for attending this monthly Dunlevie Center meeting. And today we're just going to take the opportunity to kind of give a tour of the achievements and activities around the first year since the launch of this center. So thank you all for being here. So this was a profoundly transformative gift for us. I remember coming to Stanford as an intern and being told quite clearly that obstetrics has always been and will always be a weak sister at Stanford University. And those were the exact words. And I think we have proven that wrong multiple times, and with the vision and support of our community and friends, we have proven it spectacularly wrong. And so I think this gift really caps years and years of hard work and achievement that preceded it, and is in recognition of that, and is the jet fuel to take our work to the next level. Next slide. Our mission is to empower an arc of discovery and implementation in maternal fetal science. Next slide. And our vision is to save lives and improve the health of expectant mothers and babies for generations to come. Next slide. We could have chosen a number of ways to approach what we were going to do in this center and with this gift. We could have chosen to focus on fetal therapy. We could have chosen to focus on certain obstetrical syndromes, but we decided to embrace the full trajectory, the full breadth and depth of this discipline, to take this opportunity to really make it an inclusive and broad approach to maternal fetal science, including an inclusive and broad approach across the basic science domains, clinical trials, and population health. And so that is how we designed it. And this is how we envisioned it. A broad trajectory, but one that is directive and strategic, with a goal towards impact. Next slide. So what were some of our startup activities? Next slide. So this was in April. You can see everyone here is happy and smiling because we'd kind of gotten the news, and we're very excited. We defined broadly what we were going to be, but then there were so many things to discuss. What kind of activities were going to take place in these domains, what kinds of recruitments we needed to do. And so this was really an invigorating and wonderful discussion on a Saturday morning that in the midst of the pandemic, and helped shape our next steps. Next slide. So we identified the 4 research domains: basic science discovery, prenatal diagnostics and fetal therapy, obstetrical clinical trials, and using what we learned and moving it towards changing health outcomes across a population. Next slide. We launched faculty searches. The Perinatal Epidemiology and Population Health search started in November 2021 and is now complete. And I am absolutely delighted with its conclusion, and we'll announce that in just a little bit. The basic science discovery, chaired by Dr. Virginia Nguyen, started in November 2021 and is nearing completion with some very exciting candidates that have been interested in this position and in this opportunity. And we plan to start faculty recruitments in the fetal therapy and clinical trial domains. Next slide. We wanted to build our identity. We wanted to foundationally place ourselves in the Stanford community, to be known as that hub of maternal and fetal research, obstetrical research, the calling address being the Dunlevie Center. And so we developed, I think, a wonderful website with the help of Giannina Ong, our communications specialist. And it wasn't just developing the website, it's maintaining it, it's updating it, it's nuancing it and growing it. And it's been really a wonderful reflection of the work that we have done. And as you can see on the bottom left, we also worked on an icon to represent the Dunlevie Center. And behind Anna, you can see our Zoom background for the Dunlevie Center. Next slide. Having come, as Maury and myself did, to a place that was quite the desert on arrival, where you wrote your own IRBs, you updated your own IRBs, you enrolled your own patients, you consented your own patients, you randomized your own patients, you analyzed your own data, you inputted your own data, and you wrote your own paper. It became clear that despite everyone's extremely hard work, and despite really some amazing successes that eventually got us into the network, and our relationship with Santa Clara Valley that we built as well, you'll never get far without the proper structure. And that proper structure is a highly functioning research core. That research core is really the foundational element in which you can, and platform to carry out all the research endeavors. And that research core is only as good as the people who inhabit it. And we are just blessed with some wonderful personnel, from Angela Clear and Jonathan Mayo, who have recently joined us, Christine Lee, Ijeoma, Samantha, Janet, Catherine, Melissa, Sonia, and Emily. They really are the heart and soul of our research effort. And their incredible leader with Anna Gearson, MD, PhD, leading this, and with Amy Daytalk as our regulatory manager. It is, when I think back at where we were and what we have, it's just mind-boggling and so wonderful. And it is really the foundational platform for everything we do. Next slide. So I'd like to take this opportunity to just highlight some of our activity in the research domains, and we're very fortunate to have the leaders of these domains here. And Virginia, I will turn this over to you for a few comments, if that's okay.
Yeah, my pleasure. So the basic science discovery domain has a number of faculty members. I, in my lab, focus on studying cellular and molecular aspects of human placenta and placentation. We're generating organoid models and trying to understand placental dysfunction that underlies a lot of obstetrical complications. I think in terms of the Dunlevie Center, our biggest accomplishment has been this new faculty search. We've had over 65 applications, which is a very strong pool. And we're down to the final list, and we'll have in-person visits of the top candidates over the next month. And super excited to have some new faculty be joining that's made possible through this Dunlevie transformative gift. Just to highlight some of the investigators that are contributing to science around maternal, fetal, and obstetrics. Dr. Chikowski is from actually pediatrics, and she is working on in utero Fanconi anemia gene therapy. Dr. Bo Wu, who was a recent recruit to the REI physician scientist, is developing an innovative approach to do non-invasive embryo prenatal testing, which would greatly facilitate IVF and genetic related disorders. Dr. Sebastiano is doing some very clever and innovative work developing gamete, ability to generate gametes in vitro. And this would be incredibly transformative, particularly for children who have developed infertility due to cancer treatments. And Dr. Roger Pedersen, who has a long-standing research history in human embryonic stem cells, is working on ways of forward programming to generate trophoblast in vitro models as well. So super excited about the basic science that is happening within the basic science domain.
Thank you so much, Virginia. It's really, really remarkable, the activity that's going on and its potential. And thank you for leading it as well as for leading the search. Dr. Blumenfeld, I'll just say a couple of words before you launch in. The only fetal therapy we did for years was fetal transfusions. And with the arrival of Dr. Jane Chue, we started doing more shunt procedures. And then with the relationship that Dr. Blumenfeld and I developed with Texas Children's, we really started to embark on a fetal therapy program built upon the very strong foundation of our fetal and pregnancy health program that our neonatal colleague, Dr. Susan Hintz, directs. And so it's actually unique across the country that our focus didn't jump into fetal therapy. Our focus was multidisciplinary care, appropriate management, best practice imaging, follow-up, etc. And from that, Yair really built this fetal therapy program, went to Texas and trained and brought back his skills and knowledge, joined with Dr. Carl Sylvester and Dr. James Wall. So Yair, I will let you take it from here.
Thanks, Yasser. Thanks for that, those kind words. You know, it's really, I was thinking as you were saying, it's really sort of full circle, because I remember, you know, when the fetal, sort of the fetal and pregnancy health program started, and we started developing our local data sets, our gastroschisis data sets and our lung mass data sets. It was all sort of local data, and Anna was involved with that. And then that allowed us to get into sort of NAFNet, this North American Fetal Therapy Network, about 3 years ago. And then we started becoming, you know, to participate in the data sets that they had. And we started to become more prominent within NAFNet. And now we're on sort of within the two most prominent NIH funded trials within NAFNet. One of them, of course, is the RAF trial, which we would never be able to do if it was just us by ourselves. We have to go in with our neonatology colleagues and our nephrology colleagues and everybody else that's involved. And now it's come full circle where the next phase is, okay, now that we're sort of established within NAFNet and we're promoting our own studies within NAFNet, now we're coming back to Stanford, looking around, looking at our inherent strengths and saying, okay, now how can we be the leaders? So it's come sort of this full circle. And it started with this symposium that we had back in November, thinking about where the field of fetal therapy is going, thinking about medical therapies and gene therapies. And that's one of the outcomes from that was the collaboration with Anishka and her, which Virginia alluded to, which is really exciting translational research related to Fanconi anemia. At the same time, you can see the highlights that we're doing that we have within the Stanford sort of environment listed here. We proposed a SMA registry to NAFNet. We're really excited about a recent case that many of the people who are on this call were part of, related to cystic fibrosis. I know Catherine was involved. I'm a part of this group looking at a novel bladder shunt, and that's all within Stanford. And then the picture that you see there is me and Amy, who has been just a phenomenal partner and could never have done any of this without Amy. Just developed this 150-page sort of hard copy proposal to the FDA, allowing us to launch a tracheal occlusion program for the treatment of severe congenital diaphragmatic hernia. And you know, thinking about this research team with Amy and Anna and the whole cadre of CRCs, which are really just instrumental in helping us be a part of this sort of network and everything else. So it's been really, really exciting. I think the future looks really, really bright. We're really excited and jazzed about seeing what kind of individuals we can bring as we grow the program in the next couple of months, and really happy to collaborate with anyone, and really just humbled and happy to be here a part of this program. So thanks for letting me say a few words, Yasser.
Pierre, thank you so much. You know, and I'll just say the trajectory has really been quite explosive. We are doing every fetal intervention here at Packard, short of feto, which we are going to start doing. And so it's, we built this in the shadows of course, a program just to the north of us that was the gorilla for many years in fetal therapy. And I'm just so proud of our achievements in the Yair of what you've done and what our neonatal colleagues and surgical colleagues have done together. We also launched a symposium. We're going to be having regular symposiums for each of these domains over time. And the first one was on fetal therapy. Yair directed this program. It featured 10 of Stanford top investigators. It gathered a wonderful online audience and got great reviews. And we're looking forward to our next program, which is going to be in symposium associated with perinatal epidemiology, and there'll be announcements coming up around that. Next slide. We always did clinical trials. In fact, I would say just because we had no database, when I came, and Maury remembers this well, actually the easiest thing to do was to try and be creative and do a small clinical trial. And that kind of became the cottage industry. And Deirdre, when she was a fellow, really took that on as well, and collaborated with Santa Clara Valley. We had multiple publications in the green and the gray. I think there's been some incredible contributions to the literature based on this, what we affectionately called our cottage industry of clinical trials. And that has continued, and it's continued into the network and beyond. It's continued with the recent CHAP trial, as well as these other studies that are going on. But we are really looking to grow this in a way that takes us to be a clinical trial hub for national trials. So not just participating in the national trials, not only participating in national trials, but also directing those and being the central kind of focus around them. And that's going to take some doing. There are regulatory and other issues unique to Stanford and unique to the practices with patients and our access to them at Stanford that are going to have to be overcome. But we feel that by recruiting the right clinical trialists and continuing to adjudicate these regulatory issues, we will have access to a very robust community of patients and be able to lead nationally on national trials. So I'm very optimistic as to where we will go with clinical trials. Next slide. And this is our wonderful perinatal epidemiology and population health program, historically very strong at Stanford with the CMQCC and the CPQCC. And I was delighted when Dr. Lyle decided that this was going to be her focus and merged well with the work that she had been doing, and was appointed the Dunlevie Endowed Professor of Maternal-Fetal Medicine and director of this domain in the Dunlevie Center. And when Dr. Susan Carmichael was appointed as co-director of perinatal epidemiology and population health with Dr. Lyle. As you know, Dr. Carmichael is a nationally and internationally renowned perinatal epidemiologist. And we did just complete a national search and have a wonderful outcome with multiple candidates vetted, and the best candidate rising to the top and accepting the position, Dr. Stephanie Leonard. Stephanie, we're just absolutely delighted that you will be joining us. And Julie Simard ran this search with Gary Shaw's support, and we really were so fortunate. A very, very robust section in the Dunlevie Center, 7 manuscripts published this year, 12 in review, investigations into SMM, maternal epilepsy, postpartum readmissions, and disparities in obstetric care. Deirdre, do you want to say a few words?
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you. I think one thing that struck me in listening is that this domain is so unlike fetal therapy, because that's something that was just built really de novo. And you're right, we really only did intrauterine transfusion. So it's amazing kind of what has been created. In contrast, I mean, we're creating lots more here, but perinatal epidemiology and population health isn't new at Stanford, and that's a great thing. It's what so many of us do, and sort of having this as a carved out domain is going to allow us to grow that and to strengthen that. As you've already described, everyone is actively publishing. It is a very broad area. It's too much to dig into those publications in great detail or even to take credit for them. A lot of this is already happening here. I think the biggest exciting news of the since this domain has come about, you've talked about first the recruitment successfully of the faculty additions, particularly the search in perinatal epidemiology and population health. I want to thank Dr. Simard and also Dr. Shaw really for identifying such strong final candidates. It was really impressive to see the caliber of people who came through, and we were so thrilled to have successfully recruited and our top candidate, Dr. Stephanie Leonard, who has really done so much in this area in a very short time and is going to continue to help us grow as a community. And then delighted, as you've already said, that Susan Carmichael has accepted as co-director of the Dunlevie Center in this domain. And she's known to many of you. For those who don't know, she's been a real leader in perinatal epidemiology, and particularly research into severe maternal morbidity. Lots of good things in the future. We're looking forward to moving into the new space on Page Mail, and this will allow co-location with a lot of the other population health programs at Stanford, particularly CMQCC. And we know that co-location also breeds a lot of sort of good ideas and new programs. We've talked about future mentorship pathways, considering options with mini grants and things like that. And just really very excited about where we're headed. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Deirdre. Okay, next slide. Yes, so, just a brief kind of overview of, and this is in a year. 17 peer-reviewed publications from center faculty this year, 15 more in review, 8 grants awarded, 15 more submitted and pending. It has been such an exciting, energetic time. None of this, again, possible without the kind of team that we have assembled. You're seeing their pictures there, and much more to come. Next slide. Our fellows, of course, are one of the main reasons we exist. Fellows are medical students, our residents, and we have just fabulous fellows. And this year in the study of maternal-fetal medicine, our soon-to-be fellow, because she's promised to go into maternal-fetal medicine, had 2 oral presentations. Dr. Sarah Miller, one of our residents, and we had with our fellows and faculty 20 poster presentations. And Stephanie worked closely with Sarah in designing the oral presentations. And in fact, one of the judges during the oral presentation ended by remarking to Dr. Miller that she hoped to be able to welcome her into the specialty of maternal-fetal medicine. So she really did an outstanding job. Next slide.
No, sir, I just want to correct that the other oral presentation was by Stephanie Leonard.
Okay.
Dr. Miller had one and Dr. Leonard had one, so we had 2 presentations. Yeah.
I assume Stephanie's involved in everything, so.
I'm sure she was, but she was also the first author of the other oral presentation.
Mine is
Thank
at like
you, Anna.
5 in the morning. That's why we're on Zoom and not in the office. Yeah, thank you.
Next slide. So we have monthly meetings where we exchange discoveries, regularly 40 to 50 people on Zoom, the whole range of maternal fetal medicine science discussed. Here are some of our prior speakers, and next slide. Our next speaker will be Dr. Alan Tita. He was the PI of the CHAP trial, wonderful investigator and individual, and he will be talking to us about the CHAP trial. He is in the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology at the University of Alabama, Birmingham. Next slide. Okay, so future plans. This is our move. This is the old Theranos building. It is beautiful. The space is really wonderful for the Dunlevie Center. We will be co-located with CMQCC, with CPQCC, with Population Health right above us. So it's going to be a great location, both administratively as well as for our administrative research and non-wet lab research, and that move should take place, I think, in a month or so. But it's a beautiful area, and we're hoping to get basic science space for our other basic science discovery section in the same area. Next slide. I will let Anna talk about our seed grants.
Thank you. So I just wanted to say a couple words about our exciting seed grant call program that we are starting this year. So this fall, we are starting with 2 seed grants, and the plan is that we are going to be doing like 2 calls of seed grants per year, so fall and spring. So, but this fall, we're starting with 2 seed grants, each $35,000 for 1 year. And we will be sending out the funding announcements and with the application link on the first week of August. The deadline for this fall cycle will be on Monday, October 3rd. And the funding would start in January 2023.
Thank you, Anna.
Yeah, just a couple points about the general eligibility. So all Stanford faculty with instructor, clinical educator, UTL, NTLR, UML lines are eligible to apply. They need to have this position for the duration of the award. All of the proposals or the projects proposed will need to show that they advance the science of maternal fetal medicine, and 1 submission will be allowed per applicant per cycle. And we are going to be using the NIH criteria in the ranking. So looking at the significance of the proposal, innovation approach, as I mentioned earlier, the proposal must demonstrate that the project is advancing the science of maternal fetal medicine. And I am really grateful for the group of qualified external reviewers, external to our small division, who have already responded to us that they are willing to review these applications this fall. So thank you so much in advance. And once we have received applications, we will be, or perhaps a little bit beforehand already, we're going to be reaching out to you again to ask for your time. And I'll be happy to answer any questions via email if you have any questions about the seed grant call. Again, this fall, starting with 2 seed grants and then moving on to next spring. Very exciting.
So just a few acknowledgements. So this is our operational administrative team. We meet every week. We go over really everything with a structured agenda. I just cannot thank Dr. Gearson enough for her leadership, her dedication to this endeavor. Zara, who keeps us all organized and moving on time. And as I've said about Usha, if you could imagine the Dunlevie Center as these multi-dimensional Excel spreadsheets where every dollar is tracked, every penny spent is monitored, everything is updated, and just incredible work. And very grateful for your skills, Usha. Our wonderful chair, Dr. Leslie Subak, who has helped envision this and guide it from its beginning to this point and on. Ms. Sheila Dolzal, who I can't just say enough about the dedication, the commitment to women's health, to this department. She has guided this department through some really rough times into where we are now. Always with a commitment towards education and research. Sheila, you're really the glue that holds us all together, and deeply grateful. And Ms. Jackie Lasky, who, at least for me, personally runs my life, knows more about my minute-to-minute function than even I do, and literally manages the entire MFM division, MFM-OB division single-handedly. Always kind and generous and always so available and responsive. None of this, not this center, not all the work and clinical underpinnings that allow this center to flourish as a research center would be possible without this team and everyone else's commitment and efforts. I think that's the last slide, Anna. So thank you all for starting this journey with us. We are just beginning. It's been 1 year, and so many good things have happened, and we look forward to many years of real accomplishments. So thank you all.